Hi guys, and welcome back to another devlog about Skyland. This time my focus over the last 2 weeks were the basic tools, but before I started with that, I finally created a logo for the game in Blender. This is how it looks for now, basically just some carved wood which should indicate that the game is a survival game. And yeah, I thought about putting some floating islands into the logo as well, but it didn't come up with a good design, so I ditched that idea. So the next thing on my to-do list were the basic tools, so I went right back into Blender and started modeling those. Tools include a scythe, which will be used for the agriculture part of the game like harvesting and planting crops, a shovel for digging around the world, a pickaxe for mining minerals like iron, gold and copper, and an axe to cut down trees. I also added a leafy flask to keep your player hydrated. Obviously, I also had to implement the functionality of those tools, but before that I had to change a lot of my old code. So far I only used inheritance for entities. This is pretty old school, and nowadays you use an entity component system. So what an entity can do is actually described by their components, and you can add and remove those components whenever you want. It took me about 1 to 2 days to rewrite my old code, but I'm pretty happy I took this path because now it's easy to add functionality to basically everything. I have an inventory component which only the player has for now, but if I would need it I could also add this component to the tree, and without any extra code the tree would have a synchronized inventory, so that's pretty cool, and it will allow me to do more advanced physics stuff like in Breath of the Wild, where everything out of wood will catch on fire if there's any kind of fire source near it. So yeah, that's that, and then I coded the functionality of my tools. The scythe cuts down grass and doesn't damage the ground or trees, the axe can cut down trees faster, and the shovel can dig you some pretty nice caves. The pickaxe has no real use yet because there aren't any minerals in the game yet, and the flask can be refilled when you point it at water. There's also a little bug where very dark particles drop while digging, but I fixed that later on. So yeah, now it was time to implement the health and thirst stuff, but first I had to code a nice shader for it. Basically just a colored background with some bubbles floating around. Here's a quick rundown of how it works. It splits the pixel coordinates into boxes. Those boxes get an ID. With that ID I produce a random number which sets the radius and movement of the bubble. I then move the boxes upwards over time, distort them based on a noise texture, added a second layer with bigger bubbles, and finished it up with some basic other math to let it look like bubbles. The full shader can be found in the description if you want to have a look at it. Okay, now that the shader is finished, and because I implemented the entity component system, it's very easy to add that first functionality as a component as well. For now the thirst increases over time. If you're too thirsty you will take damage, so you have to stay hydrated with the help of a flask. Then I also added the function to interact with your environment. For example, you can now pick up berries from a bush and they will regrow over time. I'm not sure yet if the berries will heal you like back in the old Minecraft days, or if they only keep you saturated and you have to heal yourself with bandages. I will probably decide that over the next 2 weeks. And yeah, in the background you can see a nice little bug with the berries where I forgot to change the scale of them, which I fixed later on as well. Okay, so the basic functions of a survival game are done now, so I went right back into some shader coding. I tested my light scattering stuff again, but I didn't achieve a nice result, so I only recorded some black and white stuff of the scattering shader. I'm not sure yet if I will add it into the game in a later stage, because I already like how the game looks right now. So yeah, that's about it for the progress of the last 2 weeks, and the game is getting a bigger and bigger code base every week. Right now it consists of 74,000 lines of code, and from time to time I have to clean up stuff to keep the project at a good state. That's why there wasn't that much progress over the last 2 weeks as I would like it to be, but I hope you guys still liked it. If you have any feedback you can leave it in the comment section, and I will see you in the next devlog. Bye!